Hello learners. Today we will be discussing ethical issues in marketing research. We all know that ethics play an important role in an individual's life as well as in the organization's life. There are so many issues across the world in the corporate world itself that shows that if the ethical issues are there and ethics is not followed in the corporate or in the market, then there are certain cases where the company has actually gone down and it is not able to survive in the market. So, therefore, it is very important for the organization, and especially while doing the marketing research, certain ethics need to be followed. Today, we will be discussing some of the issues which are very, very important while conducting the marketing research. We will be taking a couple of case situations in which we will understand that if ethics is not followed, the proper code of ethics is not followed, what kind of issues arise and what harm it can do to the organizations or the companies per se. So there are certain codes of conduct also which needs to be followed by the organizations, and if they are followed, then the organizations perform quite well and they are able to sustain in the competitive environment. Starting with the introduction, we know that the goal of marketing research is to try to decipher or uncover the truth about a market where the company is operating. For this, the organization requires certain researchers who use their judgment to interpret the data. Since their findings are used to make important decisions, it's crucial that their work must be trustworthy. Ethics are essential for building trust because they ensure honesty throughout the research process and protect the participants from harm. It maintains the transparency. Unlike laws, ethics are voluntary codes that guide the researchers how to perform the research, and these codes aim to improve the quality of the research, gather better data, better evidence, and gain the trust of both those funding the research and those who are participating in it. The distinction is made between ethics, which are established rules of conduct, and morals, which are personal beliefs that can influence what someone considers right or wrong. So, this is very important in ethics. While studying ethics, there are certain dilemmas. We come across certain situations where we are not able to understand whether this particular thing is right or wrong. It is the perceived values, the culture, the judgment of the researcher to find out whether this particular situation is right or wrong. So in this session, we will discuss certain guidelines for the ethics and ensure that researchers conduct truthful marketing research regardless of the purpose of what kind of research is being done. For this, we have a certain module of studies. We will be going through the role of ethics in marketing research. We will try to find out the ethical considerations in marketing research project. We will try to understand potential consequences or the results of unethical marketing research practices. We will try to understand the purpose of a marketing research ethics code, which is a universal code and it is followed throughout the world for the market research. And we'll try to find out the possibilities and the effects when faced with ethical dilemmas in marketing research. There are certain rules for conducting effective marketing research in India. We are taking India as a context, but it can be applied across the world or across the globe also, because ethics, the rules of ethics, more or less, they remain the same. In previous sessions, we have seen that there are a number of important rules to follow when conducting marketing research in India. Earlier, we have also studied how to identify a problem and how to identify the research problem, how to convert the decision problem into the research problem. All these things we have already gone through. But In this case, certain rules are to be followed. There can be 5 rules basically, but they can be more if you want to find out, or if you can chalk out certain more rules. It depends from company to company, but these are the basic rules. The first and foremost rule is to speak the language of your target market. Suppose you are doing the marketing research in a rural belt of, say, Rajasthan. In that case, it is very difficult to do the research with the survey questionnaire or with the language like English. In that case, you need to know the local dialect, or you need to know Hindi, because Rajasthan is prominently a Hindi dominated belt. So in that case, you need to make the research, the clients or the respondents understand the language so that you can get a proper kind of a data. So speak the language or languages of your target market. And you know, India has 22 official languages and hundreds of dialects. So researchers should be able to communicate with the target group effectively. The second and the important part is to avoid literal translations of your research materials. This is very important. When we translate something, it should not be literally translated. So in that case, you need to modify the survey questionnaire or whatever the questions you are asking. You need to modify it in such a manner that the context of that particular research or the message of that research goes to the respondents. A local translation partner can help you to ensure that your research materials are culturally appropriate and easy to understand. Because in literal translations, what happens is that there are chances that the matter may affect or it can be offensive culturally. So these particular things should be avoided while doing the translation in the local dialect. The third important thing is to respect the culture of your target market. Cultural factors play an important role. Values play an important role. So if you are going to a certain market, target niche market, then the cultural factors can have a significant impact on how people respond to the marketing research questions. In a rural belt, if you are going to do the research for smart watches, then it would be a little difficult. You need to target that market for particular things which are quite popular there. So that is why respecting the culture is very important. The fourth thing, while modern technology can be a valuable tool for marketing research, it is very important not to rely on it too heavily. Managerial expertise is still needed to interpret the data collected through marketing research. Technology is good, but technology can be very, very harmful if not used it in a proper manner. So we have technological advances like AI, we have data analytics, but those things also, if not used properly, they can be harmful. So one has to have the inputs from the human minds also to interpret the data. Fifth is watch out for signs of fraud, such as interviewers who regularly ask straight-lined questions or direct candidates along the quickest routes to success. So that has to be understood. Because in the research, if you are doing it in a particular area where the normal questionnaire like English is not used, in that case you have to use the interpreter who is interviewing. So you need to understand that interviewer is not doing a certain kind of a fraud. So this is very important. So after knowing the rules of ethics in marketing research, we do come across certain ethical issues also. And those rules also bring in the ethical issues which needs to be looked into while conducting the marketing research. Certain ethical considerations need to protect the rights of respondents and maintain scientific integrity. Some of the ethical considerations in marketing research are listed. You can see there it has been defined as the ethical issues, what kind of ethical issues can arise and what is the definition of that ethical issue. First one is the voluntary participation. In this case, the respondents should be free to opt in or out of the study at any point in time. You cannot force the respondents. If the respondents doesn't want to answer, you cannot force them to answer. Informed consent. This is very, very important. The participants should know the purpose, the benefits, the risk, and funding behind the study before they agree or decline to participate. So this is very, very important. You cannot force the participants. Anonymity and confidentiality. This is very important, that you need to maintain the confidentiality of the participants, because personal and identifiable data should not be collected or disclosed. If it is disclosed, that means you are breaching the trust of the respondents. Potential for harm. Physical, social, psychological, and other types of harms are kept to be an absolute minimum. You cannot, again, the coercion, the forceful nature should be avoided, because that can harm the respondents in different manners. Results should be accurately shown. In case the participant is unaware and they do not want the results, it's fine. But the results of communication should accurately be shown. So these are certain ethical issues which needs to be taken care of while performing the research. Now coming to the most important thing, what is ethics? And especially what is ethics in marketing research? As I told you in the beginning itself, ethics is something which is voluntary, which has certain code of conduct which needs to be followed. But when we talk about marketing research and ethics, there are three parties which are involved in marketing research project. So whenever you're doing the marketing research and the ethics is involved, there are three parameters which needs to be considered. First is the client who sponsors the project. This can be a company, this can be an organization or an individual. The second one is the supplier who designs and executes the research. And third one is the respondent who provides the information who provides the information on which the data, based on which the data is collected and then interpreted. The issue of ethics in marketing research involves all three players in a research project. Now, let us discuss how these three players play an important role and how ethics can be maintained through these players in marketing research. First one is the ethics in the rights of the respondent. Taking part in marketing research is voluntary, as I said before also. And the respondent, if he or she chooses to participate, it is important to be honest in their answers. They should not be biased. So the respondent can abstain from answering a sensitive question, but it is unethical to lie in an answer. So all these information should be provided to the respondent before the interview is started or the research process is started. So here are some of the things which respondents can expect when participating in the research, and this should be informed to the respondents. That their privacy will be protected, they won't be exposed to any kind of risk, they will be informed about the true purpose of the study, they should be able to see the final results if they want, and they can choose whether to answer or not to answer a particular question. So these things need to be informed to the respondent before conducting the research or before conducting the study. There may be unethical respondents also, and that has to be visualized or that has to be observed. There are certain respondents who agree to the terms and conditions, but they give careless or wrong or biased answers. So that the researcher has to understand, that is based on her or his judgment, whether the respondent is ethical or unethical in nature. And this can be due to long, confusing questionnaires, a lack of motivation to participate, or a desire to protect their privacy or ego. So the researcher has to understand the mental state of the respondent and avoid unethical respondents. Now, the second part is the ethics of the sponsor. While conducting a marketing research, certain morals and ethical standards needs to be followed by the sponsor of the research. And in this cases, some of the considerations are listed. First is the overt and covert purposes. That means the researcher, the client has to tell what is the basic purpose of the research, and should be open to all, to the researcher. And research for show, it can be misused for organizational goals. So one has to be very careful about it. For example, research for show, it can be used to delay tough choices or give legitimacy to pre-made decisions. So this is the biased research. So this doesn't have value, but the organizations, they conduct just to show that they have conducted some kind of a marketing research. Avoiding blame. Managers facing difficult choices might use research to avoid responsibility for the outcome, because whosoever is responsible for the research becomes accountable for it, and to avoid certain kinds of misconceptions, or maybe the fear of getting blamed, all these things, the managers have difficult choices. So in this case, this has to be taken care of. Then there are ethical dilemmas, as I told you earlier also, whether it is right or wrong. This can lead to pressurize the researchers to skew or manipulate the findings towards a desired outcome, with a fear that they will be caught, or if the results are not proper, or if the results are not as per their presumptions or as desired, then this may cause their job as well. So this kind of fear is also there. So ethics of sponsor has to be taken care of. Now, another thing is being dishonest with suppliers. So sponsors can be dishonest with suppliers, and some client organizations, they employ there are certain dishonest strategies to take advantage of suppliers, like stealing the ideas, or clients may misuse proposals. They request research proposals from multiple firms. These proposals have the detailed research plan, methodology, samples, sample size, tools for analyzing the data. So unethical clients, what they do is they just steal these ideas, steal this study, steal the proposal, and they do the study on their own instead of the supplier doing the study. There are false promises also. The clients may promise future work which they have no intention of doing, and they may pressurize the suppliers into offering a low price on a project. So clients may also initially assure the researchers of their cooperation, but then they do not respond. So these kind of false promises also are unethical. The clients reject inconvenient findings. Now, if the findings are not as per the client's requirements, they reject all the findings, which is not proper, because the findings which have been done through the research may be true. So if the researcher results don't meet their expectations, unprofessional clients may reject them entirely. They misuse the research information. The client firm should not misuse information gathered through marketing research. For example, databases about consumer preferences. They are used number of times by manipulating the data. Sometimes salespeople pressurize the researchers to get respondent details for sales pitches. Disguising selling as research, some phone calls or third-party sponsors, they do the phone calls claiming to be the surveys, which actually are the sales pitches for things like insurance or investment. You might have witnessed that you get number of unwanted telecalls. So these are disguising selling as research. So this is dishonest and fair, and this is unethical research to those answering the calls. Then there is client manipulation. Marketing research firms can be pressurized by the clients, like a brand owner comparing themselves to the competitors, to manipulate or skew the data in the way they want. So this creates an unethical bias that misleads the consumers. There are certain suppliers ethics also. So that ethics in terms of the suppliers. So we have seen ethics in terms of clients, we have seen ethics in terms of respondents. Now we see the third player, ethics in terms of suppliers. And the suppliers who are sponsored by the client for doing the research, so they have to consider certain ethics. First thing is maintaining the confidentiality of the client. The ones who have sponsored, the names of those persons or the organization should not be taken out. So research suppliers must safeguard any client information obtained during the project. This is, if they share the information, this is breach of trust. Improper execution of research, suppliers are obligated to carry out marketing research projects in a neutral and unbiased way. This means avoiding personal opinions, personal biases or agendas in the research process. Again, falsifying the data, manipulating the data, that is another thing which needs to be taken care of. Substituting the respondents. Proxy respondents is one of the things which needs to be taken care of. Actual respondents should be there for the researchers, because they use easily accessible people like family and friends, instead of going through the real research process. Intellectual adjustment: to avoid collecting data from a large group of people or a particular sample size, the researchers, they fabricate or they make up the data through a small group of responses. So this is the supplier's ethics or the researcher's ethics. Coming to ethical dilemmas in marketing research, we will be seeing some of the case situations which help us in understanding what are the dilemmas which the researcher faces. Suppose during recent attitude or the perception study for a client's product, your research revealed their current marketing efforts may not be as impactful as intended. However, the client's product management team seems resistant to this finding. They don't want this finding as it is against their perception. So they don't want this information in the final report. They have requested you to exclude this data from the final report, which will be shared with various stakeholders. You understand their perspective, fine, but doing away or omitting the crucial information from a widely distributed report compromises its accuracy and transparency. Now, this scenario presents a clear-cut ethical dilemma for the research. Now, you are in a dilemma as to what to do, whether to comprehend, whether to fall for the client's wishes or do what you deem fit or what you feel it is right. So in that case, you have certain options. First one is stand by your findings. That is, if you are an ethical person or ethical researcher, you are going to stand by your findings. Whether they take that finding or not, that's up to them. But you are going to stand by your findings, and this is one of the most ethical course of action. You have to explain the client the importance of including all the findings, even if they are negative. And you have to offer to work with them on how to address the weaknesses identified in the research. You can provide the solutions to overcome the weaknesses for their organization. Another option is to negotiate a compromise. Propose to present the data in a way that is less critical of the current marketing efforts. Then, in this case, it becomes more or less unethical. You can focus on areas for improvement and recommendations for future campaigns. However, ensure the core findings of ineffectiveness is not completely omitted. This is little 50-50 kind of an option. Then the other option can be seek the guidance within your firm. Discuss the situation with your supervisor or a senior researcher. They might have experience going through similar kinds of situations, and they can offer valuable advice as well. Or, this is the fourth option, you can report the issue to a relevant authority. If a firm has a history of unethical practices or pressurizes you to fabricate the data consistently over a period of time for n number of researches, then you can consider reporting them to a relevant marketing research association or industry body. So these can be the option. Now let us see another case. Again, there is an ethical dilemma. Suppose you're the head of market research for a major chemical company. The studies show customers are using a key product incorrectly, but thankfully it's harmless. The issue is they are wasting money by overusing it. You're shown the new advertising campaign by the advertising agency, and you find, to your surprise, that it completely overlooks this overusing trend. Now you're worried. Worse, it seems to promote this overusing trend. Now, what action would you take? You're again in the dilemma that whether the advertising of that particular product is correct or not, because your study says it's not correct. In this case, you can have some of the options which you can share with the client. You can schedule a meeting with the marketing team and advertising agency, present the market research findings on customer misuse, emphasize that current campaign seems to encourage this behavior. Use the data to showcase the potential cost saving opportunity for customers if they use the recommended amount. Frame it as a benefit for both the company's reputation and the stakeholders, that is the customers. Or you follow a collaborative approach with the agency, meet with the advertising agency and suggest a campaign that educate customers on the proper usage. Brainstorm together on creative ways to subtly address misuse in the advertisement, perhaps highlighting the efficiency or highlighting multiple uses that requires less consumption or less product per application. You can consider to escalate the issue internally. If the marketing team or agency is resistant, consider escalating the issue to your supervisor or the company's ethics committee. Explain your concerns about misleading advertising. Or seek external guidance through internal channel. If the internal channels are unresponsive, consider seeking guidance from an industry association or an independent marketing ethics consultant. Their expertise can help you navigate the situation and provide support for your concern. By taking these proactive actions, you can advocate for ethical advertising practices that benefit both the company and the stakeholders in a larger, you can say, larger space. Now coming to the important part, that most of the organizations, they follow the standard marketing research ethics code, and that is the Council of American Survey Research Organization, that is CASRO. And you can see there is a link on the slide. If you click on that link, the whole booklet is there, where there are certain parameters which have been mentioned. There are certain do's and don'ts for ethical research. Now, do's can be respect the rights of all the research participants that we have already discussed, maintain the confidentiality, transparency and privacy of the participants or the respondents. Establish with the firm you have been hired by to conduct the research that they are conducting it in your best interest, not theirs. That means you have to be ethical. So it is best to come to an agreement before doing the research about the means of research and the cost of research before anything is started. Be sure to cite the name of the firm that conducted the research, the purpose of the research, the dates of the study in any of the reports to maintain the transparency and effectiveness for the organization as well as yourself as a researcher also. Now, there are certain don'ts. Don't ask the researcher for confidential information if they don't want to share. Don't dictate, don't force the methods used by the firm you have been hired to conduct the research. Don't ask for quantitative analytics from the qualitative study. and vice versa, because both are different kinds of studies and both need different kind of sampling. Don't conduct primary research on a new data when you can purchase the results of a secondary data, because they are standard data and they are used for the same purpose for much less. So you have to be cost effective in this case also. Now again, let us see one more case situation in which there is a very big company, we'll name it as X, and it is a leading consumer packaged goods company, and it is known for its fierce competition with its FMCGs, other FMCGs or the multinationals. Way back in 2001, you can see it's even a couple of decades back, also this kind of situation, these unethical practices also existed. But they were not overt in nature, they could not come more into the public eye. But now, so if you do a single mistake, it immediately catches the fire and it is presented in the social media. So in 2001, X hired private investigators to find more about X hair care business. Since it's an FMCG, so it produces different kinds of products. The investigators sifted through rubbish bins outside X's offices and succeeded in gathering piles of the documents relating to X's plan for the shampoo market. While there are no clear rules on the legal status of the rubbish or the unshredded documents, the practice commonly known as dumpster diving broke X's own internal guidelines on intelligence gathering. Because when X was alerted regarding this practice, the management claimed that there are few rogue operators which have apparently overstepped the mark in their eagerness to provide high-level intelligence. Following this breach, because the study showed some results, still they were selling the hair care product in the market, which was harmful for the customers. Following this breach, X responded by threatening legal action against the rivals, and the case was finally resolved when X made an out-of-court settlement of around $10 million. So, in this case, X was brought into something which was unethical, though they had things which was not unethical. So this is certain situation of dumpster diving. Now we'll just summarize what we have studied or what we have learned in the whole of this session. So to sum up, honesty and integrity are the cornerstones of reliable marketing studies. Integrity, impartiality, and respect for all the stakeholders, in our case its customers, are demonstrated by researchers who need to uphold the ethical norms throughout the research process from designing to reporting. At the end, conducting marketing research in an ethical manner not only improves the authenticity and trustworthiness of insights, but it also strengthens the industry's credibility in society. In order to keep the industry's trust, credibility, and long-term viability intact, ethical marketing research procedures are crucial. And to protect themselves from disastrous results of unethical actions, organizations should make ethical standards a top priority. Stakeholders can reduce risks and improve their reputation in the industry and society by being honest, respecting the rights of participants, and encouraging transparency and openness. Honesty, reverence for participants, credibility of results, public faith in marketing research, ethical considerations, they have a significant influence on all major stakeholders. Responsible and trustworthy research procedures help the credibility of the organization and have an impact on the society in a good manner. This includes participants, clients, and society at large, and trust, credibility, and long-term viability in marketing research totally depends on the ethical behavior. So this is all about ethics in marketing research. So you can go through various ethical dilemmas. There are a number of case studies even available on the web. So you can just go through those studies and you will understand what ethics means in marketing research more. Happy learning. Thank you so much.